recent study that was authored by Michael Porter at the Harvard Business School, who's a noted author and researcher in business strategy. He talks about the role of business in society is to create a sense of shared value. And he shares the concern that there's a kind of a growing awareness, I think, amongst most people these days that companies are perceived, sadly, as prospering at the expense of the broader community. And his belief very strongly is that profitable businesses can become even more profitable and should be profitable, but they should be about generating profit in such a way that is providing for society's needs, not necessarily society's wants, right? Not necessarily society's wants, you know. But can you speak to the idea that companies should be thinking more broadly, not in terms of how they can just kind of create a product that scratches the itch for for a certain segment of the population, but they are actually producing something of value, not just to consumers, but something that is going to be of value to society as a whole.
And that is exactly what I've been trying to say in a number of the things that we've talked about in these last several days. I believe the Lord has given the marketplace a responsibility to be a standard bearer in the culture of the integration. If we were to describe what's the greatest problem in the United States right now, or even to some degree the world, the lack of integration. The marketplace has got to be a place that trains people to integrate their work with their family, with their life, so that we have a holistic context rather than a context of fragmentation of little groups spinning off into space in 10 million directions to some degree because of the web, which has permitted society to fragment and stimulated fragmentation at a level never seen before in history. And if that is in fact, and every now and again I'll hear somebody on the television or web who sees this, which our friend at Harvard obviously does, is the biggest disease we have is fragmentation, and the greatest need is holism. And where is the model going to come from? And if we can communicate that, Simon, in what we're trying to do, we're pushing on something that God will push, because He knows well if there's anything that we need to even understand on a greater level the unity in the Trinity, believe it or not, theologically. The Trinity being the ultimate model of community. The Trinity being the ultimate model of assimilation. God is going to help us.
Do you think that in some ways as business leaders we've lost sight of the reality that we do have some measure of social responsibility?
Yeah. I think most of the I've got several shelves here on, marketplace movement and spirituality and all that stuff. I think most of the literature, even the good stuff that I've got here, is dealing with how to create the environment for the sake of the business instead of how to create the environment for the sake of the culture, of which the business is an essential model, but the leadership context is for the culture applied by the model of what we do in the marketplace that shows what that looks like when you do that with people and the value of the teams. I think one of the reasons why we spend billions and billions of dollars every year globally watching, soccer, what we call, football, basketball, Olympics. We've got all these icons out in the center of the culture, which more than anything else, we want to see somebody winning. But what we really have the psychological, spiritual need for is to see teams working together. And we're vicariously trying to pull into ourselves, into our spirit, to see what teams look like and the joy of team.
Yeah. I wonder, in terms of creating an environment for the greatest number of opportunities for entrepreneurs to discover potentially new markets, new ideas, new innovations, and so on, is if we begin to look, instead of what it is that culture wants, that we're providing goods and services for,
Right.
but actually looking for what culture needs.
Yeah.
And I think if we can begin to explore what culture really needs, there could be a whole host of new opportunities for
No
entrepreneurial
question.
endeavors moving forward.
And the key word here is integration. Integrating our lives. That's, very, very, that's going to be months of conversation with the right people.
Yeah. And of course, with that, that's obviously what we're about. And we look forward to these ongoing conversations with business leaders, in business communities, all throughout this country as we continue to move forward with our work. So thank you.
Let it be.